welcome to this very special episode of the Dorm Room Collective. Today we have three designers here at Missouri State who are students in their undergrads, and they are going to be doing a panel discussing some of the artistic creations that they've made. And so they'll go ahead and introduce themselves.
All right, I am Lillian Hilmes. I am a junior. I use she, her pronouns, and my emphasis is lighting design.
Hello, my name is Riley Lathrom. I am also a junior, she, her pronouns, and I am an emphasis in scenic design.
And my name is Cole Trumble, he, him, his. I am a props emphasis senior in the tech department here with these other people.
So each one of them is going to go around and kind of talk about their work and their process and their specific emphasis. And we're going to start with Lillian. You have the floor, the Zoom box.
The Zoom floor, perhaps. All right, so as I said before, I'm Lillian, I do lights, and you may be asking what most of my relatives ask at Thanksgiving, what is a lighting designer? Literally, what on earth do you do? Well, we do the lights. We often hang lights, we focus lights, we choose what colors, we choose where the lights are gonna be, such and such and such. We do this because lighting is a very important part of the theatrical design. It is the emotional backbone of a scene. Without the lighting, you know, scenic people do the, you know where you are. Scenic people is where, costumes is who, lighting is the other, the meat, the gabagool of it all. So, my design process, usually it starts how most things in theater start, and that is you have to read the script. So what will happen is I'll go through the script before the first design meeting, and I'll have some preliminary ideas and just try to write them down, get them out there, bounce them off the director. Nothing too serious for the first meeting and the first read through. And then after that first meeting, I will go back and out through the script, and I'll look for more specific things. I'll end up making like a potential cue list, some key scenes that I will focus on making the plot around instead of just trying to make a plot for the whole show. It's much easier if you try to visualize scene by scene and go like, okay, what do I want this scene, this important scene to look like? What do I want this important scene to look like? And then you can kind of build the rest of your cues and show around the sort of highlights and climaxes. Oh, one of my favorite parts of this process is making a concept board, because I just go to Pinterest and I go wild. Like, I have a good time with it. You can follow me on Pinterest, Gaseous Giant, Gasous Giant. And after I have all of that kind of done, all the preliminary work, I can get into actually making and drafting a plot, which is not my strong suit, but it is a really necessary part of the process. And if you don't know, a lighting plot is basically just a big document of the whole theater that shows where lighting positions are in the air, on the side, wherever else. It shows where they are, what color they are, how they're patched into the board, so you know like what numbers to click on your little board when you want to turn them on. After the plot is made, the ME, which is often usually me as well, will end up hanging and focusing that plot. And then I will usually go to a run through, make some more little cue notes just to finalize what I want them to be. I'll often film that run through so I can cue to the run through before people get on stage during tech. And after that, we go into tech, and everyone's favorite part I know is the 10 to 12s, which is where we're there for 12 hours a day, and you get basically a 2 1-hour breaks or a 2-hour break. People do it differently, but that's where a lot of my heavy work is done. And I always feel so bad because I'm always like asking people to stop and start. So I'm like, hey, like this light needs to be moved 1 inch to the left. Can everyone stop everything they're doing for like 5 minutes while I figure it out? But that is where the most of the work you see is done, because by the end of the 10 to 12 and the next couple of rehearsals, I will keep refining those cues just very slightly, probably things that most people wouldn't notice, but it's like, you know, you gotta, it's all in the details. And after that, it's final dress happens. I will make a few more notes. I will make a few more changes, and then the show opens and I'm hands off, I'm free, I'm done, and I get to watch the beautiful thing we've all created. And that's basically what I do as a lighting designer in 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
Well, that's delightful. Thank you so much. And I think this is a good lead in to Riley's section.
Yes, hello. So, like Lillian said, the first part of any process as a designer is reading the script and reading it a bunch of times, at least probably like 5. But then again, it happens a lot more because you're constantly going back to it. But yeah, usually like as a scenic designer, it's really fun because I love the creation of the worlds is what I love. I was a huge Lego kid, and now, but I really don't like math. So I was like, architecture, maybe not. But now we do fake architecture that only has to stand for like a little bit of time, which is what I love. So yeah, that's like my main thing. So then you first start out with the directors and you kind of get their interpretation of the show, and then you kind of let that incubate for a little bit. And I don't have a cool name like Lillian on my Pinterest, but I also do that. You do a ton of research. I love personally researching art movements to get specific feels, because I love having just like a conceptual tie to the script that I find through art or even music. You can really find it anywhere. And then you just start designing. You draw 100 things 100 times, because the first ones are always bad. They're never going to look good. But I love drawing. So it's just like a kind of a therapeutic way, but it's definitely a lot of chaos, but organized chaos. And then you move into just making these renderings and making these draftings. So specifically for scenic, you're going to want to do just like a basic sketch. That's just kind of where you're going off of, and you kind of like bounce that off between all the designers and let them know like considerations for basically everyone you're working with. The director, do they love it? Do they hate it? The scene shop, can they build it? Is this possible? And the lighting designers, is there a way we can light it? Stuff like that. So it's a lot of communication that goes on. And then you kind of start moving into more details. So you'll make specific renderings and draftings, paint elevations for specific walls, staircases, anything, depending on what show. If you're doing like a very abstract show or a very realistic. And then you'll get into some more of the nitty gritty specific draftings that you're sending off to the shop. And then you'll do models. And I have one here from the show I just worked on, which was These Shining Lives at Missouri State. So this is my 1/4-inch model, super proud of it. So that's something that you really want to do. And it's very helpful, especially for directors, if it's like a play or musical with a lot of movement. You really want to give this to them so it helps them know the space more, because a lot of times rehearsals don't happen in the theater that they're going to be produced in. So once you kind of get all of that, and then as a scenic designer, you are always in constant communication with the shop. And what I love about Missouri State theater specifically is we get to be the workers as well. So especially with the last show I worked on, I picked to do a backdrop and I painted it from scratch, and that's just hung in the back, and I got to go in every day and just create what I love, and I loved it. And then of course you get into, once everything's built and everything looks fabulous, not done yet, because you'll go into technical rehearsals and dress rehearsals, and as a designer you always kind of want to be there just looking at things, making sure no one's tripping on a step that needs to be fixed, or there's not a wall that you really didn't think was going to be seen but it is, so it needs a coat of paint. But yeah, that's specifically what happens. But it's scenic design is what really just like drew to me, because I love creating worlds, and I think theater, especially live theater, is just something really important, especially in these trying times. But yeah, that's kind of a rundown of scenic design.
Thank you, Riley. Oh, yes. Great job. Cole, it is your turn.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Cole Trumble again. And so doing props, it starts, like Riley said, with reading the script multiple times. The first thing that I do is I try to read the script once and not write in it, not mark in it, and just get the idea of the story and read it like I imagine like the majority of people would interpret the script. And the next time I'm going in and I'm just looking for objects. So every show, you're going to have some book or some pen that you're going to forget about that's going to be really important 3 months later when you go into rehearsal. And so it's important to get that all marked out and also to have an idea for where some things might belong that haven't been written down. So when you read a scene that takes place in a grocery store and someone's checking out stuff and it says that they take like milk and apples and grapes, the script might not always say it, but you've got to read it and think, oh, we need to include a shopping bag or something like that with all of it. After the first initial read through of the script, then I'm getting a props list, which is a big Excel spreadsheet, and my Excel spreadsheets are ugly, but it's a big spreadsheet that breaks down every item in the show by scene, by act and scene, by page number, by who uses it, by how it's used, if it's consumable, if it's a prop costume, if it's part of the scenic design as well, if it's something that people carry, if it's set dressing, if it's furniture. And then once you get that going, then it just becomes pulling a bunch of items for rehearsal. So rehearsal props to be stand-ins for the actors to use, because even if you don't have all the items, the actors need to be able to use items in rehearsal, especially if it's going to be used in fight choreography or if it's an object that's picked up and moved across the stage. So once we've got all the things in rehearsal, then it comes down to buying, making, or borrowing everything else. And props is really fun because you're never really done with your job until you're done with your job. It kind of, after the first planning stage, then it's just a cycle of plan, make, fix, plan, make, fix, plan, make, fix, get feedback, fix. And that goes all the way through tech. And so even through tech rehearsals, we're still making new stuff, we're still fixing and altering stuff so that it can fit the needs of the director and the actors more. And I got into props because I really like making stuff, and I really like making stuff, like Riley said, that doesn't need to, that it's there for like the flash, it's there for the fun, and it doesn't need to be like the most durable, although you need to really reinforce stuff that you hand off to your actors. But it doesn't need to survive an atomic blast typically, again, depending on the actor. But I wanted to show off a little thing that I made, and I hope I don't bite into time too much, but one little project that I've worked on is this little thing, which looks really freaky deaky. And this is a little fireball cannon that I'm gonna shoot back there. So this is just something that I made because I like making stuff, and this isn't the sort of thing that I'd make in a production, but this uses a lot of the same things that prop making needs to use. This is a barbecue lighter that I've taken the outside off of and rearranged the guts so that when you turn it on, there's a little spark in there, and it ignites flash paper and flash cotton. Flash paper is that, and flash cotton, ooh, here, this is the fun one, is you can just get a big piece and it burns so quickly that you can just hold it in your hand and not get burned. And so that goes in, and then it does a cool pop of flame, and it's really cool. And this is just something that I've done in my free time that uses the same skills and the same techniques as props, except it's obviously, because it's a passion project, it's a lot less collaboration. But it's about taking something that you find and altering it and twisting it to cater to your needs, just like you would twist and cater it to the needs of a production, of a director, of an actor, and to yourself. And then afterwards, it just turns into, and then that's just something that can go into it. And it's all about learning how to use different objects, different materials, different techniques in order to make something that can serve a purpose, either in a play or just for fun.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing some about your process. We're going to move into some quick questions from some of our followers on our platforms. And so you've each talked a little bit about how you got into your special emphasis. So if anyone wants to elaborate a little bit more about how they got interested. Lillian's really not the one that really hasn't talked about it. And so this is like kind of directed at you.
I will definitely say something because I didn't mention it at all. I was definitely going like I want to just say what I do. What I have written now, I wrote out like basically 2 pages of like detailing the entire process. So I didn't go into any, I'm sorry, I came way too prepared for this. But, basically how I got into lighting design is I've been doing theater since I was 4 years old. My mom put me in acting classes when I was super young. They were fine. I had a good time. I'm not a good actor. But one time I was sitting on the stage, I think I was like 8, and I just looked at my hand and I lifted it up and I saw that I had like 3 different shadows of different colors. And I was like, that's so cool. And then ever since then, like I've always done theater, and I started doing technical theater at the age of 12 or 13. And I was just a general like scenic builder. And then when I got to high school, I was a properties assistant, and that was really fun, and I had a really good time making stuff. I like making things as well. And then I don't know, something I was just like, I always was begging my teacher. I was like, let me do lights, let me do lights, let me do lights. And she finally did. And it wasn't like a full, like, I didn't get to control the light board, but I got to control the separate cyc lights that were run from a Mac in the back. And that was some of the most fun I've had in theater ever. And I just like that happened, and I was like, I want to do lighting. And then I came to college and was undecided and refused to do theater for a semester. And then I came back and said, this is what you want to do. Just go do it. Just go live your dreams. It's not unattainable, I promise.
Do the other two have anything else to add quickly?
I think that everyone kind of remembers when they got bit by the theater bug. And I think mine was probably because I didn't know I wanted to do theater at all. And then I think it was my freshman year of high school. I was also on the properties crew for Little Shop of Horrors. Oh, no. That's a lie. Oh my God, my favorite memory is a lie. Anyway, it was the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. And my one cue was to hand this one guy a juice box. And so I literally, of course, got ready for my cue. Like, it was such an insignificant thing, but I got ready for my cue like 30 minutes early, sat on the little stairwell up to the props loft, held the juice box, and when he came off stage, I had a straw ready, put it in there, handed him, and he was off, and I was like, this is it. I love this. And then here we are. And the Legos, of course, that helps.
How I got into theater actually started, I was touring a theater, and I saw the spotlight that they had in the back. And I was probably in like 2nd grade or 1st grade. And I saw the spotlight that they had in the back, and it had a bunch of levers, and it looked like a big, like space laser. And I said, I really want to play with that. And then when I got to high school, I did lights. And in high school, that was just sort of running the light board, or at least in my high school. And I did that for a year, and then I got really bored. And I also really hated not being backstage, because that was where everyone was having fun. And I was in a booth with like one other person and then our theater teacher. And so I went down and started doing props. And I actually only did props once in high school for White Christmas, but it really fed into what I like to do, which is work with my hands and make a lot of little projects, as opposed to like spending all this time for one big project. I like being able to have, it feels like it gives me a little bit of freedom to be able to jump around from a music box to a jump rope to like a banjo case to something else, and be able to go back and forth. Now I'm here.
So we got a lot of questions that were all kind of about collaboration, and your 3 fields are very collaborative with each other. Do you all want to talk about that?
I love collaborating, especially because I love all aspects of theater, but that doesn't mean I'm good at all aspects of theater. Like lighting design, I know nothing. I mean, I know some stuff because I'm taking classes, but when it comes to collaboration, I'm always just like, hey, this looks really good, but please let me know if I put a lime green wall that you can light that. And especially with props and stuff, like the props and the scenic artists need to work heavily together to get that cohesion on stage.
Yeah, it's I think scenic and lighting do work very close together because what one does super duper affects the other. Like if Riley wants like a drop, like I can't hang any lights there, you know, or like where the drop is depends on like where I'm going to point a light. I was thinking just in the working meeting we just had, you mentioned like scaffolding and like that you wanted to make the set out of scaffolding, and that like clicked the light bulb on in my head, and I was like, when I use gobos, they need to be like very like geometric, crisscrossy, like it's like your light is shining through the scaffolding, and like that just clicked in my head. And that's kind of why we have those meetings, so we can like bounce those ideas off each other and make sure we have like a big cohesive process. And I don't work with props a lot of the times, but I do remember one time during Crimes of the Heart, there's this random like shiny thing on the back wall, and I was like, what on earth is it? And it was like,
it was on, you were like, you were like, hold on, I need to figure this out. And everyone's like, what are we holding for? And you're like, I have to figure out what light I have that's pointing a blue square in the middle of the wall. And then everyone was like, that's the cellophane on the box of chocolates. And you went, oh, and so it was just, I don't think we did much. Oh, I think we either just used the clear stuff instead of like iridescent cellophane, or we just changed the blocking so that
I think she just started holding the box differently, because if she just tilted it, then there was no blue square. But like that's something where it's like we have to communicate, because something as small as that can make a difference.
Yeah, and a more engaged example, which is unfortunately not with either Lillian or Riley, but one of the biggest cases of me working with another designer on a show for something like this was when I did Heather's. I think it's probably still my favorite prop that I've made, which is the glowing glass of drain cleaner that is fed to Heather Chandler to poison her. And there's a scene in the script, he holds up a glass of it and it's supposed to glow. And I did a bunch of research and I found something that glowed blue when you shone ultraviolet light on it, UV light. And so I had to talk with the lighting designer, who for this production was Seth Brown, and he actually had to add new fixtures into the lighting design. So he literally changed the number of lights. I think it wound up, we added like 6 different fixtures because I needed UV light to be in one part of the stage. And so he took that and then incorporated that into his overall design. And so wound up being that one of the characters would walk over, JD would walk over with this glass of drain cleaner. And now, because of this wonderful collaboration, there are a bunch of fixtures on the ground that are shining ultraviolet light up. And we got some really great production photos of that. But that's another example of like how important collaboration is, because otherwise I'd be figuring out where I could hide an ultraviolet light in a cup instead of just doing it in a way that I think winds up making a stronger design as a whole and a more entertaining and engaging performance.
Do you guys have a favorite memory of something you've made or just a project you've worked on?
I have a funny one from recently. Last year, I'm Missouri State, we did Cats, which is always a fun thing for theater people to work on, because everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's a show about cats. But it is so much fun. And one of my funniest memories, I think, on that is, so I was the assistant for Michelle Harvey, one of the professors at MSU, and I was tasked with creating these like crates, and we had to make them human size but also cat size, which is kind of thing you gotta do when you're working on cats. But they had to crawl in them and crawl around them. And I remember one of the dress rehearsals, and it's the character Jenny Anydots. She comes out in this like really fat coat, and she couldn't fit in the box. And I remember just like laughing really hard because, well, and then what we had to do is just like cut out a side of the box so she could like fit in. You're given a script and it's like, okay, these people named Munkenstrap and Rumpelteazer have to climb on a wall while also McCavity is flying in midair. And you're like, first of all, what are these names? Second of all, they're supposed to fly? But that's the joy of theaters. You gotta figure it out. And it's just really fun. I love fun scripts. And now I can say, and I'm not ashamed to say it, I like cats. It was so much fun. No, it was fun to work on.
I will jump in. I was in. Oh, I'm sorry. I will jump in. I was taking
Let the host jump in.
The semester that we did cat, so I actually helped with that side. And there is still the blue and orange paint that like was on the trash cans.
The barrels.
It's still on my socks. I still have a pair of socks that have.
Oh. My favorite thing is like going back through like my paint shirts and paint clothes and being like, oh, that's from that show, which is really weird because I can pinpoint like a certain color of the show, but that happens. Like Cats was a lot of browns, a lot of oranges.
Yeah, those colors are very distinct.
I wanted to say, because talking about like fun shows and projects to work on, I think a lot of people will remember a very interesting show that we did called Bear, a Pop Opera. And that show had a lot of stuff going on, as anyone who knows anything about it knows. And when I was reading the script for the first time, I was this is the first time I'm reading through, so I'm really trying not to like zero in on all the props everywhere in the script. And I'm reading through, and I had to get up and take like a half-hour break because I realized that it was going to be my job to create or procure a penis piñata for one of these scenes. And in that same scene, there is a boa made of condoms and panty streamers that are in the script. And so one fun day I go with, because to make all the purchases, we have to have them made with the university money and with the tax exemption. So I get into a car with a couple scene shop workers and Anna Hunt, and we go to Walmart. And I want to say at the Walmart, we bought a gallon of Elmer's glue, 36 condoms, and 13 pairs of panties. And it was 3 guys and Anna just checking out, and it's all tax exempt. So we're not paying taxes on the 13 pairs of panties, 36 condoms, and gallon of Elmer's glue. And then I went about spending the next, I would say it probably took, of in and out, working a couple hours a day, it probably took like 2 weeks to a month to make this penis piñata. And there was one day where that was all that I did. Was I got up, I went into the scene shop, I tied panties together, then I taped a bunch of condoms together, and then I painted glue onto a big penis. And then I went home, and then the glue would dry, and I come back the next day and I did it all over again. And that's my job. And I remember I read the script and I just thought of the phrase like, be careful what you wish for, because this is exactly what I like hoped would happen getting into props. I just didn't think that I was going to have a script and go, all right, Cole, you get the express pleasure of making with your 2 hands a 2-foot-tall, bright pink penis that you're going to name Matilda, and you're going to put it on stage. And when they brought it out for the first tech rehearsal, there wasn't I don't think stage management or directing or lighting needed to stop the scene, but we all wound up taking a kind of a 5-minute break because it was on
this. It was a lot. I was there. It was a lot. Hey, while it's on me, I have a picture of her brought up on Instagram. That is Matilda. She is extremely large.
Oh yeah.
There she is.
And so it's kind of hard to see on there, but it's brought out on this big, it's a big pole with the skinny little piece of metal, like a hook that it clips onto, and it can spin on it. So it's brought out on this big pike that can swing around this giant paper mache penis. And I think the first time that it was going to be brought on stage, they hit the edge of the door frame. So like the first time we see it with a big and then it spins, and then it's brought out on stage. And I remember I got up, and as soon as it came out on stage, everyone started laughing, and I went, I can't handle this right now. I'm gonna go get a drink of water and come back when everyone's settled a bit. And I came back in, and I said, yes, it does look like what you'd expect.
Lillian, you have memory, you.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that's crazy. It's most of my memories are props. Like, my favorite memories are like good props memories from high school, which I think is hilarious. But
What's up?
Because I did over the summer summer 2019, not summer 2020, obviously.
I was gonna say, girl, what are you doing?
Yeah, I was on the props crew, and just like the whole experience of tent was like fantastic. Like, if you get the opportunity to do tent theater, just do it. It's awesome. It's great. I had an amazing coworker, Jade, shout out. It was the only person I saw for like 8 hours a day. They were lovely. They were amazing. But if I'm gonna pick a lighting memory specifically, this is something that happened literally this weekend. It was Friday. We were doing photo call for These Shining Lives, and I'm not, yeah, Riley was there, but I wasn't a lighting designer for it, but I was during my shop hours, and Angie was like, hey, can you hold this like rock box light, which is like, it's a square LED light, and I was pointing a UV at it so the little watch faces would glow because they had glow powder on them, and like it was just so much fun to like do a photo shoot with all of my friends and coworkers there, and I feel like we just had a great time, and it was fun. And Lauren dressed up in one of the costumes, and she was like the model for it, so it was super cool. And then it was me and Am on the rock boxes. Michelle, the scenic design art teacher, was taking the photos, and then we had Robin, the costume designer, on FaceTime because she's quarantining right now, but we still all got to be together. And Michelle's dog ran around. I forgot, Buster was there. So
Buster, my man Buster was
we had a little
king.
dog running around as I was just like shooting like an LED light at like these tiny little watch faces, and like Lauren, as she's like pretending to like a paintbrush. That was really fun, and it was just a really nice day. And I was like, this is the kind of days I live for in the job, you know, just fun little things you don't expect but are a good time.
That makes me really happy because that also was really fun. I loved it.
I was making a box off stage. I was making a lid for something, and I was just next to the photo shoot that was going on. Haha.
I did high five you when I had the glow powder on, though.
Oh yeah, and I got some on my hand. It was really cool because it was like I couldn't see it at all under normal light, which was really fun.
Well, Lillian, I have another question for you. It is a time when we're doing this. A lot of what we're creating might be over video chat. People are making art from their homes. Do you have any good lighting tips for them that they, like our viewers, if they want to make something themselves?
Yes, I do actually. I was the official lighting designer for Argonautica. What we ended up doing was pretty simplistic. I didn't get to do as much as I'd like to, but I am happy with how it turned out. I love controlling little things, and it's really hard to do that when you've got like 30 screens and like someone in every place around Springfield. But ring lights are incredibly helpful. They will just pop your face out from your background, and you'll look like a human person with like a more faded background behind you, which is very good. As for just general lighting, if you want to make it look a little more interesting, I'm always a fan of like multiple light sources, 3-point lighting. But if you're just going for flat, like I'm going to sit here and do an audition, ring light is the way to go. But my lighting setup right now is funny. I usually don't Zoom from in here, but just because I'm a lighting designer, I have a bunch of weird lights going on in my room all the time. I've got like a pink light bulb in my lamp up here. Sorry for my messy room, but I've got a red string of lights over my little Furby window. And then, I had one more, I thought. I have a lamp here, and I also have a lamp over there, just because multiple lighting sources just makes the place feel better. Like if you want to feel more comfortable in your room and like curate a vibe, get multiple lighting sources, and that can be anything from LED strip lights are super popular right now, and those are really cool. Like it's super great to just like color mix something. And my favorite ones to do is like, I love to use like an amber, or like maybe like an amber is a fancy word for orange in lighting, but well, I'll use like an amber or maybe like a pinky peach. I also I know a lot of people who like using green, and everyone's afraid of red. Red apparently has some connotations I wasn't aware of, but I really like using red in design. I think it's a very powerful choice, and I don't know, it's leans into like the warmer hominess. Like most of the lights I have in my room are like on the red spectrum. So that's my video tips are: get a ring light, you will look better, you will pop out better. And my home tips are: get multiple lighting sources, don't be afraid to get creative, have some fun.
Well, excellent. We have one final question, and it's kind of a fun one. For each of your focuses, what is your favorite genre of like piece of theater? Like it could be a musical, but like I'm thinking more you could talk about like if there is a specific type of style like realism versus like absurdist theater that you like to do, or like classical pieces versus like contemporary. Take that how you wish, but do you have a favorite that you like to do?
I've got stuff if you want me to go. I was just thinking about that. You said your favorite thing, and then I was like, oh, my favorite thing has the worst lighting on the planet. My favorite movie musical is called Repo the Genetic Opera. Worst lighting I've ever seen in a film. It's god awful. I love that damn thing, but it's a terrible movie, but I love it.
Doesn't it have Paris Hilton in it?
It does have Paris Hilton in it.
Okay.
Watch it if you're going for a laugh and you like horror, gory, weird. It's got some really fun practical effects. I will say they do a really good job on the gore. But for lighting wise, I actually have a playlist of music videos that I really like. And a lot of the times I like them because of either editing or like I think they have really interesting lighting. And my favorite lighting in a music video goes to Violence by Grimes. I think it's gorgeous. Like you're just gonna have to look it up. It's really pretty, and it's some of the best lighting I've seen in a music video. But I don't really have a specific theater pick. I try not to, because a big thing in theater is like you want to get inspiration, but you don't want to like copy things exactly. So I try to grab my inspiration from other like theater adjacent sources.
I think probably, I don't know, because I'm a nerd. I love theater and I will work on whatever. I think like as like a theater like viewer and stuff like that, I love musicals, and this next semester is going to be my first time designing for a musical, and I am super pumped. It's working, so it's a Steven Schwartz musical, and we're going to do it filming, which I think is also a really cool idea, and a way that we can put on theater during COVID, which is cool. But honestly, I think like when I think of like my favorite things of scenic design, I think of like some of my favorite designers. And of course, like the late Ming Cho Lee, he just passed away earlier this year, but like he like, I think as a kid, just like looking at a lot of his stuff, or right now, Derek McLean is my favorite scenic designer ever. And just like the spectacle of it all. And I feel like sometimes you can get a lot more spectacle in musicals and just like going bigger and crazy. So that, but I love like little mini abstract little plays and stuff. I don't know, everything, I guess.
On a similar note to what Riley said, I definitely gravitate towards stuff because I like making stuff and I like making new stuff. I definitely gravitate towards stuff that's weirder. And so I like, in terms of like having a preference, I definitely like I can find enjoyment in everything, but if the play is realism, it's more likely that I will prefer a different play that is just super absurd. And I know I have talked about it already, one of the plays that I really, really liked working on was Heathers, because Heathers is not in real life. It's very much supposed to be this stylized version where everything that is important is like going to be emphasized and stand out and have just much bolder color choices, much bolder like silhouettes, and like pop out so much more. And so if it were up to me, I would do everything. I wouldn't do everything modern, but modern means that if it's all modern, that means I get to care about the exciting stuff that is like the weirder things. A realistic show, like when we did Crimes of the Heart, that was a very props heavy show that was very, very realistic. And so I was looking up basically every like appliance that's in this kitchen. I had to figure out if it existed and would have been used at the time of this play. The play also takes place on a very specific day. It's like October 3rd, 1975. And I had to look up, would they have used matches or like the clicky candle lighters? Did Coca-Cola have twist off caps yet? I had to find out all sorts of stuff that I don't want it to make it sound that like it's like, oh, I had to learn about all the stuff that I don't care about, because I do, because it's really cool to learn about that. Like Coca-Cola bottles developed twist-off caps in like 1971. That might be wrong. I might be forgetting that. But that show was a while ago. And it's cool to learn that stuff, but I definitely prefer it when I can go out and make a 2-foot-tall Dick Piñata, and I can make something that is going to light up, or it's going to move, or it's going to have pieces that are more fresh and are something that I haven't seen before. Because if I make something that I haven't seen before, then that's probably something the audience also hasn't seen before. And as much as it's true of a lot of tech areas, and especially props, the idea that if no one notices, if like a lot of people will say, if no one notices the props, that means you're doing your job right. And that's true, especially in those hyper-realistic plays, for sure. But I like it when I get to have a little bit of time to show off and do something with that just looks crazy, or is just really like fun and interesting, like the lock for Secret Garden, which you couldn't see on film even a little bit. You could see like a single line of pixels in the final cut, and I spent like like a month working on it, but it looked cool anyway. So you're just gonna have to take my word for it. But making stuff like that is really fun. And that's definitely what I gravitate more, is the non-realistic, really stylized stuff, because I want to make really stylized stuff and feed into the overall concept.
That's great. Thank you everyone for being here and for answering the questions and talking about the work that you do, and I enjoy hearing about it. And yeah, this has been a great episode.
Like this and go. Hello.
Are we?
It's rolling.
Wait, are you recording?
All right, cool. We're recording. Let's go.
Unmute yourself.
Oh, I didn't want to talk. I said restart the Zoom. I was just.
We'll restart the Zoom. I will cut there.
Next question, please.
Good question. Give us question.
I'm ready for my close.
I'm just doing like voice lines.
I'm
like,
mostly waiting for a moment of silence so I can cut it when I edit it. I'm being honest.
All right,
Thank you,
I'm gonna
Abby.
talk so I can get the bam. Haha.